I'll mute it with the remote. Okay, so usually when I start a review or start getting ready for a review, I pull out a couple headphones. Let's say it's an amplifier. Let's say it's an amplifier. Say it's any old amplifier. I pull out a couple headphones and I listen for an hour. 2 hours. Not 5 hours. So, Topping A90 Discrete. We all know, hold on. I got the old boy here. Here he is. Oh, there's my A90. Look, that's the D90. We don't want to talk about that yet. We're going to get to the other one. Here's my A90. Look, waifu and everything. This amplifier changed the world. Well, no. All right. Real quick history lesson. The THX AAA 789 changed the world. It's up there on the shelf. That was the most linear amplifier it's ever been. And it stayed that way for approximately 12 to 14 months. And the reason it stayed that way for that long is because the A90 hadn't come out yet. Now, Topping, knowing that that came out, was like, oh shit, when they reworked their thing and then made this amplifier better than what THX could do with all their linearity. So this, I don't think, if you go to the page for that, you find this, you're going to find Joshua Valor asking the question, is this the best amp ever made? And the answer was probably at the time pretty much it's close. Yeah, it's kind of. Let me tell you about the Discrete, though. Because the answer to that question is fucking yes. Is this the best amp ever made? Yes. That's it. End of the review. Thank you. Don't forget to join my Patreon. $5 a month. You see reviews early, participate in yard sales, get lossless sound demos. $10 a month. You get to join a private behind-the-scenes Telegram chat where you can actually ask me questions directly. And if you're in that chat with all the 200 other people, you also get into a lifetime swap meet channel, which you never get kicked out of, where you can buy, sell, and trade gear. I'm giving that promo first because I think you people are done with this video. Because Zeos is known, I'm Zeos. I'm kind of known for loving a lot of things, and it feels like I'm shilling things, but at the same time, I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to enjoy music. If something makes me smile, I want to smile. I want you to smile. Let's all smile together. This, though, is important because there's only one other amplifier I've ever listened to, and it's just a headphone amp. It's just a headphone amp, everybody. It's just a headphone amp. So all these headphones here, there's quite a few of them. There's quite a few of them here. All of them need to be powered on a headphone amp, and some headphone amps sound like tubes, and you got some that are a little more Class A, and then you got some other ones that are more linear. And the only headphone amp that I've ever heard that sounds as good as this, or even close approaching it, is not a Topping. It's not an SMSL. It's this. You ever heard of this guy Rupert Neve? You ever hear this Rupert Neve guy? You haven't? Well, you should. And that's his $5,000 Fidelis DAC amp combo thing. And I know that's the one to listen to because every time that's at a show, at a Can Jam, it was a Can Jam Chicago, and I did a terrible job covering that, and I'll do a better job in SoCal. Going to SoCal Can Jam. Because every time I walked around, and I was walking around with these, and I was walking around with these, I'd plug them into that, and it would be like, holy crap, this sounds significantly better than other amplifiers I've listened to. So that's $5,000. This is $600. This is $600. And this is perhaps the best sounding amplifier that's ever been, and certainly is for the price. Now, I've got a big old Burson Soloist Grand Tourer down there on the floor with a Noctua fan in it that's just waiting to take a crack at it. And that's going to wait because this is launching and then that's going to come out. But as of the moment I'm sitting here, after the 5 hours, my ass hurts of just going through. I'm not going to put all these on, but I'm just going to point. T60R guns, classic. Requires a ton of power. How much power does this have, Zeos? Well, if it was 16 ohms, 9.8 watts a channel. That's 10. All right, let's just fucking round it up to 10. 10 watts a channel headphone amplifier. That's not normal. There's so many not normal things about this amplifier. We're going to get to them. We're going to get to the technology. We're going to get to the analog digital volume knob. We're going to get to the inputs on the back. We're going to get the fact it has a remote control. It has multiple gain settings. Can I please talk about sound first? Please, 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 hard eyes, please. T60R guns, enough power, because around the 50 ohm load, it's roughly 5 watts a channel. that could put out for 50 ohms. So yeah, it's good. Neumann NDH30s. This and this might be the perfect audio experience. Like, that's it. Hey, I don't like headphones or music in general. Can you show me that they're good? There. I took out these. The very hard to please Fostex TH909s. Very hard to please. There's like 1 amp. I have 1 amp here. Wait. It's not even you. You're on a shelf. It's a tube amp, an old combo X Duo tube amp with a vintage tube. This is the best they've ever sounded. I plugged them in here and it was sort of like, I was like gonna be like, and they actually legitimately sound their cost. That's, I mean, granted, I've got Yaxi pads and stuff. Oh, by the way, Dakoni wire. In case you wanted to know, Dakoni makes cables. I'll link to that. But this fucking stopped my heart. But I didn't come to tears. Not yet. That job was for the HD600s. The old classics. The ones I painted with spray paint. By the way, also Dakoni wire. And you know what song I came to? Which, I don't know if that makes me a weirdo or a psycho or Nine Inch Nails Closer. Like, I've heard that song since it came out. I've been listening to like Nine Inch Nails, and Nine Inch Nails Closer is not exactly like a romantic love song. I mean, it could be. It could be. It could very well be. But I was sitting here, and the things that were coming out of this amplifier into this headphone brought tears to my eyes. Like, legit tears. And if you're wondering which DAC I've got, because, real quick sidebar, there is a new Topping D90, which is the DAC. Remember back in the day when Topping had DACs, and then Topping had DACs with MQA, and that's all they had? And I and other people were like, fuck you, MQA! Fuck off! Well, Topping apparently has ears. And not only do they make the best headphone amp in the world right now, but they make a DAC without MQA for $100 less. And you know what? When APOS, because APOS sent me this, APOS like, you want him to send you that? I'm like, don't bother. Don't take it away from someone who might be able to purchase it. Sell that son of a bitch. Now, it's not cheap either. The LE is $800, and then the SE for special edition with MQA is $900. And you could just take that $100 and throw it right in the fucking bank and invest it in anything. No. The DAC I'm using on this today, I said was like, all right, Geshelli Labs made me a special case. Because I am a special case. This is their J2, now featuring once again the AKM 4493. The AKM DACs are back, everybody. And I wanted to make sure I debuted it on a, oh my God. So this is one of their aluminum cases. They have wood cases. You could do all sorts of weird, wild, crazy shit. Ooh, and other projects coming in the future. But that is, I don't know if they're going to offer like custom sunset painted boxes, but yes. I came to tears to Nine Inch Nails Closer on a $600 Topping amp and a $250, actually this one has the USB module, I think. If you want the USB, it's an extra $50. So, but I'm not using it. So a $250 Geshelli Labs J2. And where do we move on from here? So, thank you to Geshelli Labs for sending the new AKM one back. Now they're finally back in stock. Thank you for Dallas by Rupert Nev, God rest him, before making that so that I knew what I wanted in an amp. And here's the thing, I know a lot of people who have listened to this and go, oh, it's too soft. Oh, it softens it up. And no, it fucking doesn't. What it does is it makes everything sound amazing and you lose nothing. And that's the thing, I don't have an audio engineering background. I can't tell you why this sounds like, legitimately, I was gonna start this video, and didn't do it, so I was gonna put a garbage pail here and just start fucking handling amps just straight into a garbage pail. Oh, Burson, garbage pail. Oh, I have a garbage pail. Singzer, garbage pail. Just put them all in there because I could save so much room on the rack and just have like 4 of these. So, specs. All right, I'll read specs. I don't like reading specs, but I think it's kind of important. So like I said, $600 in black or silver. My God, the silver. Let's see. It's got 2 gain stages, high and low. It has the relay, which unmutes it. Relay volume, which means it's not an analog pot, which is like they start. It's got a relay ladder, so it's a big digital number, but it's still an analog volume control. It's switching combinations of resistors to make that happen. Let's see, total harmonic distortion plus noise, 0.000055%. You know the LA90, the big son of a bitch LA90? Yeah, it's like that, but more accurate because it's scaled down instead of being, what was that, 80 watts a channel to 10. Blah, 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 discrete circuitry, 3 gain. This one says, oh, it's for the A90. They have a lot of the A90 versus A90 discrete. And you could just see the A90 discrete kicks the A90's ass in numbers. Numbers don't matter to me as much. Like, it's nice to know the amperage and the wattage and the everything else, but it's like, I want to listen. And as I listened to the A90 and then switched to the discrete, I understood how gargantuan a leap this is. Because it put headphones on my head that I've heard for years, with songs I've heard for years, but then I don't, like, care. Let's face it, I've been doing this for like 9 years professionally. And at some point, I just stopped caring about listening to that song on a headphone I've had for that long, on anything. So when I actually care, and I come to, like, emotional distress, and it happened on a few songs, but I think the Nine Inch Nails closest one was the weirdest. That's when I have to, like, put the camera on your head and you start talking about it. I didn't even apply this sticker because I haven't covered it with waifus like I usually do, because I'm not quite sure if there even is anything good enough. I may have to send this out and have an artist physically paint on it. A beautiful landscape, a vista, a beach, and then add anime titties to it. Let's take a tour. I'm gonna unplug the... Here's how I know the Rupert Nev was the amplifier to test against, because I brought these Koss KPH 40s to Chicago Can Jam. They had Yaxi pads at the time. These are the new Deconi phones, which I don't know if those are out yet, but when they come out for the Porta Pros, you're going to get them for that. And I plugged those into the Rupert Nev. I plugged them into everything at Can Jam, because it's like, ha ha ha, look, I'm using $40 headphones. And on the Nev, on the Fidelis, these scaled. That's a thing. It's like if you plug a headphone into something and it's cheap and it sounds okay. Then it's something a little bit better, a little bit more linear, a little bit more power, a little bit better, more linear, more power, and it just keeps getting better. These do that. And the way they sounded on the fucking Fidelis, the $5,000 Fidelis, they sound like on the Topping A90 Discrete. The Shelly Labs J2 should just sit there. Oh, I'm going to knock this off the table and be very, very sad. Why? Why is the world against me? All right, here we go. The back of the unit is actually going to take a second to look at. Can I shut this off? I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to unpower it. Because this thing is just killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. Power plug, main power switch. It's important we know that because it's got a digital power switch in the front, but to access some settings, you got to flip this off, hold that, flip this back on, and then you can get to it. We're going to get to it. We're going to fucking get to it. You have a ground lift switch here. So in case you get some sort of weird noise, because maybe you have, I don't know, a complicated wiring setup in your thing, if you are getting some sort of weird ground loop from the XLR, from the ground to the RCA, you can flip that and it'll literally detach the ground and do its own thing. It's like a built-in Band-Aid. I luckily don't have that because I'm a professional and very lucky. You get a 12-volt trigger. And it just says 12-volt trigger. It doesn't say in or out. You know why? Because you can fucking change it to in or out. 12-volt triggers are little 3.5 millimeter monos that you can plug between different devices. And like you can make this, when this turns on, trigger out and turn something else on, say like a big amplifier that you're using XLRs to feed into. Or if you have, I guess, a DAC with a trigger out, you could set this as an input and it'll turn this on. So it's just like an automation system, but from like the 80s, 70s? When did triggers become a thing? You've got the very, very basic middle section here. These are your outputs. You get XLR outputs, you get RCA outputs, you get XLR inputs, you get RCA inputs. This is actually coming from the back of that, the WA7 Fireflies. So I'm using the tube amp to preamp into this so that when I switch between these two, I get either straight from the Geshelli DAC or from another thing into this, tubed, and then into this, and I can switch between being a tube pre or just a straight solid state pre. Then you come over here, you got a USB-C, not because it's a DAC, because it says FW, because that's a firmware update, because this thing does have enough electronics in it that it could use a firmware update maybe in the future. And then underneath that, you've got an EXT with a little really weird looking, looks like a CB radio connector. And that's so you can add an external add-on box called the EXT. I don't know what it's called, the Topping A90. There's A90 Discrete, there's D90 LE. Then there's an extension box, which gives you, I think, 4 balanced inputs. So that you don't have to have just 1, 2. You could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they'll be under it in another box. So I don't have that to plug into it. But that would make this a very versatile thing, because then you could just be like, boom, every input you could ever fucking want. Which I don't know many people who have multiple sources like that. Multiple analog sources, I should say. The front of said unit, bottom, I guess. Bottom is silver. Top is silver. Sides are silver with some ribs. Nice, ribbed for my pleasure. And then the front. So, Topping A90 Discrete. You get a little star pattern here. That is the infrared receiver for the remote. You get power, HPA, pre, RCA, XLR, and EXT. Those are your 6 indicator LEDs. Which actually, when we get to the menu, those are also going to be used for that. So you can see if it's on headphone amp or preamp or both. You could have XLR input or RCA input or EXT input, which it then, once you plug it in, it activates that. So you can't do it. I can't do it right now. You get 2 8-segment displays that aren't mounted. They're just micro holes drilled through the front of the fucking aluminum that light up through it, which is cool as shit. Just cool as fuck. As hell, as bitch. Cool as schnark. I don't know. We'll make up some new curse words for this whole review. You get your 2 balanced outputs. You get your 4-pin XLR. You get your 4.4 Pentacon, gold, I might add. You get your single-ended, gold. You get a knob that is, it clicks, but like you feel it like a click, but it doesn't click unless the power's on when the click clicks. So it's very smooth, and it also is a button to press in. That's the tour of the physical tour of the unit. Now let's put our things back in, and by things I mean just power. Why is that so short? I hate it. You know what? We're going to go through the menu first of all. So here's how you access the secret menu. In fact, I got to whip out the user manual because, like, everybody like to play Spy or watch Spy X Family, right? And they got those secret codes. Well, it just so happens that I'm using a MQALESS DAC, which, if you don't know how these lights work, neither do I. But you keep pressing that until the input you've chosen is the chosen one, because it's like you have 2 on the front, and you've got 2 on the back, and plus USB, and then you press it, and it flashes the different flashes until, oh, I touched it. So now it's flashing, and it's like trying to tell me what's going on. And I think it's that one, by the way, is the correct one. But then you could also hold it down to change gain levels, which, so, love MQALESS Labs. They'll eventually make that visible. But now this is very similar and on the same vein, where we're going to get into the secret menu by holding down this button, the knob, flipping that on, and then it's going to say 3, pre-3. So we have options of 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's display brightness. So this is indicating we're on menu number 1. So we're going to pick the one we want. I like it on the brightest. Hit the enter. Now we're on 2 lights, and it says on or off, or it says on or of, because those are your only options. Now, this is when you have to start looking at the manual, because you're not going to know what the fuck's going on. So where are we? So, yeah, okay, so on or of is for the remote control. You could literally disable the remote control so it doesn't use it. I wouldn't want to do that, but I guess if you have multiple topping stuff, even though this is used as an RC16A, which is not the same as others, you could just turn that off so it doesn't accidentally. I'm gonna leave it on. Next, 3 lights. 3 lights is trigger mode, so you have in or out. So currently it's a 12 volt out or 12 volt in when you turn the unit on. So take your pick, there's your trigger settings. 4 LEDs. 4 LEDs is volume memory setting. Here's where it starts getting like really particular, like this is on a $600 amp. You can change it that it memorizes the volume of each output, which is the default, or memorize the volume of each input, which I guess would be helpful if you had the EXT. So it won't memorize the outputs, but it'll memorize the inputs, or it won't memorize the inputs, but it'll memorize the outputs. I'm leaving it on number 1. I don't need that control. 5 lights. 5 whole lights. There are 5 lights, Captain Picard. on and off again, or of and on again. So this is safe volume mode, which if safe volume mode is off by default, it won't, you can set the volume anywhere you want, all the way up to 99, turn the unit off, turn the unit back on, it'll still be 99. I turned it on because I know how powerful this is at 10 watts a channel and I don't want to die. And then finally, the sixth one is your safe volume level. So I set it to 80. If I leave it on 81 and then shut the unit off and then come back and turn it on, it'll come back to 80. Not 81, not 91, not 99. You could set that even lower. In fact, I probably should set it even lower. In fact, I'm going to set it to 69. In case I'm higher than 69, I turn the unit off, turn it back on. We're going to get 69. So, and what's the last one? Is there another one? I don't think there's anything else. No, okay, throw that on the floor. Hold this button down. It flashes 88. It's saved. It's off. Turn the unit on like normal. Jordan. And now we can listen to music again. Now, okay, so that's explained that. Now, the navigation, because there's no other switches or buttons except for the one knob and the push, which goes one push, RCA or XLR input, so the tube pre, or straight from the Geshelli J2, double press, preamp out, because I don't have any in the preamp out. I was going to set up speakers and everything. I'm like, trust me, it'll be fucking amazing. Double press goes between preamp out and headphone out, or just headphone out. And you notice how the preamp out is, let's make it 57. Preamp out plus headphone out is 13. And then headphone out is 27. So it remembers all that. The things I don't think you can do on the unit, just due to lack of controls, you have to deal with the remote control for this now. So now is the remote control section. See those timestamps. Don't forget to check your timestamps. Power obviously is soft off. You can hard off in the back. I don't know why you would. Trigger won't work if you're hard off. Giggity. Turn it on. 27. It remembered to run XLR. Mute is only available from the remote. Mute simply flashes that. If you want to unmute it, you can either unmute it or change the volume, and then it's on. I kind of wish every mute in the world, when you muted it, when you lowered it, it didn't unmute, but when you turned it up, it did unmute. Just because if I hit mute in like a panic, I want to be able to lower it down to the non-panic level before I unmute, and you can't. You got your up, down, left, right. So these on the remote, up and down is volume. Beautiful click. It's not too much. Like the shit stuff, the shit amps that click, they're like, it sounds like someone's shuffling dominoes. This is just like it's a polite click. And you can hold it down, and it starts jumping. It doesn't click for every number, because that would be 100 clicks. Instead, it goes like 4 at a time because you're holding it down, because it's digital. And you can figure that out. Shit. But then you can individually click it for every single digit from 0 to 99. So that's up and down. The center button is preamp and headphone out. It's just, that's it. You hit that and both front and rear outputs come on. Don't know why, but that's a thing. If you don't want that, you could then hit the left and right arrow. Wait, that's the switch thing. If you don't want that, you're gonna hit the A to either be headphone out or pre-out or both or headphone out. So A is outputs, preamp, headphone out, or both. And for some reason, this center button is both, and only both, only both. So we want headphone out. Now left and right, those are between XLR and RCA. And you can go left and right, or you can just keep hitting right, and it'll keep bouncing up and down, up and down. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with this. So now, here's the thing. If you bought one of these or are buying one of these, the menu, the manual I just threw on the floor says that B is not used. There was a firmware upgrade. Oh my God, I got to tell you about the firmware upgrade process, because it's amazing. So there was a firmware upgrade, which now makes B do this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Zeos, what the fuck is that? That is, how do I put this? Because it almost caused me to send this back to APOS and say something's wrong with it, because it's not in the manual. There's a new feature they added and it's not in the manual. So I'm gonna tell you about it right now. Zeos timestamped the feature. Because this is such a powerful amplifier, because you can get up to 10 watts per channel, you want to limit yourself. So you can keep it on low gain, which we're going to get to the gain button, which by the way does low or high gain, which again is only available in the remote. But let's say you're using really sensitive IMs. I pulled out the stethoscopes of the audio world here, the Dunu Zen Pros, and these are hypersensitive. If I left it on like full tilt, fuck off, gain high, we go from like 0 to 11, and that's it. But I want to have a little more comfort. If you're an IEM person, and yes, you want to buy this if you're an IEM person, and you want to be able to control the volume knob, instead of just having high and low gain, you could actually set here's the entirety of the volume range of this fucking monster, from not on to 10 watt to channel. And that's what 1 is. And here's what 2 is, and 3, and 4, and 5. So what it does is it takes that 1 through 99, and it doesn't just limit you to that number, it just changes the scale. So now this is 1 through 99. You only get a fraction of the full power of the unit, but you get 99 increments of fucking volume. So you could perfectly IM adjust. And what happened was when I installed the firmware update, I didn't know that it wasn't on 1. 1 is like, let me use it all. So I was using like the argons and I was like cranking it. I'm like, why can't I get there? Because I was stuck on like 3. So this now lets you pick the delicacy of your volume. On 5, you probably couldn't power any of these to their volume at 99. But IMs, super sensitive. Even these super sensitive ones, you'd be pretty much nearly maxing out the 100 things. So yeah, that's the thing. Let me tell you how the firmware update process worked. Because frankly, this is the greatest firmware updating device I've ever fucking seen, and I'll explain why. So there's a USB-C in the back of it, right? How do you think you have to update to this? You think you plug it in, then you got to plug it into your thing, and you got to install an application that connects with the baud rate? No. You plug this, you unplug the whole unit from the wall. You just have nothingness but this unit. You plug a USB-C to USB wire in. You plug it into a laptop, probably a laptop or a computer, with no power attached to it. That becomes a USB key, like a little hard drive. I forget, it's like 8 megs or 80 megs. I don't even know. It just comes up in your computer like, here's a hard drive. You take the firmware file, you put it in that, you unplug it, you plug the thing back in, you turn it on, and then it's installed. It's done. How fucking easy is that? You get a secret smuggler, you get a Johnny Mnemonic style secret smuggling drive in here that no one will know what's in there. And you're only supposed to put one file in there and then it reads it and it's done. But that's the easiest, coolest fucking thing ever. Is yeah, you just unplug the power, plug it into the computer, it powers up just the firmware little card reader thing, it pops up on the computer as card reader, you drag a file into it, you think there's a file in it and you have to delete, you add a new file, and I think it eats that file and you don't have to do anything after that. But you put it in there, you turn it on, it does like a whoop, and then it's done. Firmware updated, it runs off that. How fucking easy is that? Thank you, Topping. Now everyone else, please pay attention and make that how you do the firmware updates. I almost forgot about that story. That would have been terrible. So now back to the remote. We're almost done with the remote, everybody. C1 and C2. There was another Topping unit, I don't remember which one, honestly, that had this remote. This is the RC16A, not the RC15C. God forbid that old thing. Which the custom buttons let you set a thing. So we're on volume 43, XLR input with headphone out, 43, XLR input on... This doesn't get saved, the actual volume scale, so set that to whatever. But then you hold down C, it flashes C1, and now it's in memory. So if you only get 2. I would love if this had 4 or 6. Because you could have it so that like, oh, it's time to listen to IEMs. It'll remember low or high gain, it'll remember the input you're on, it'll remember the volume setting. It'll remember the input, the output, and the volume setting, and the volume. It won't remember the scale. I don't think they might need another firmware update to make it remember the scale. But that means you could have it like, I'm listening to my headphones now, or if I hit C2, boom, it's cycling onto C2, and now it's headphone amp XLR 60 on, it was on high gain. So you could have it so you have your headphones and IEMs, or headphones and IEMs, or headphones and pre-outs. So you can just hit it and boom, your speakers come on at the proper volume with the right input. Like you know you're gonna listen to your tube amp preamplified speakers. You know, all you gotta do is hold it down like an old radio in a car. and then it remembers it, and it can recall it. It's basically a recall function. And then the last things you have here are gain, which is just high and low. Just high and low. You don't need more than high and low when you have the scaling. And I will say there is a noise floor. I actually heard noise with this IM. I was on high gain on one scale at over 85. That would have put me in the hospital if any music had played. So if you're just using a really sensitive IMs, and that was on high gain. If I put it to low gain, it literally went from like a fan running 60 feet away to a fan running 160 feet away. It's like, I think I hear noise, and then you lower it down from 99 to like 90 and it was gone. Like you won't hear it. You're not going to hear a fucking noise floor. In fact, if you change the scaling from 1 to 2, which is still usable, you won't hear noise floor. Ever. Ever. You'll just never hear a noise floor, ever. But I want the power, and that's what we're going to talk about now, because now we've covered it. Here we've got our 1, 2, 3, 4 brightness thing. 4 is medium brightness, but after 30 seconds, if you don't touch it, everything dim. You lose the display, and it just shows you, I think, these two. So yeah, that's how this works. I don't recommend plugging more than just one headphone in at the same time. I just did the costs, which are amazing. But I will link to, in case you want to, I found these adapters online, which take the COS COS KPH40, and they have this little 2.5. So it's a 2.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter adapter. So you could use any just aux cable, and boom, you now have sexy ass KPH40s. Move those away and under this. Oh, by the way, the Grovemade stand is here. I love taking this thing out because it just makes my desk look so much fancier. So affiliate link to Grovemade in the description. I really want them to sponsor a video. I want to have like a stack of this. Where do we go? What do you want to talk about? Because I feel like this is a live stream. I'm not even treating this video like I have a time limit, because something this important, something that's gonna change literally everything that I recommend from this point on is going to be like, well, yeah, you could, or A90D, the discrete. Why aren't you buying that? Wait, do you have one already? Well, why not have two? Your kitchen needs a headphone. Get 3. Just keep buying them. Oh, the display went off, so it's just showing me XLR. It's not even showing me that. So that's nice. If I touch it, oh, it wakes up. Before I plug in, I'm going to plug these in because I feel like I don't get... These are the most love that I have given them is on this amp. How do I describe the sound difference? I make sure the gain is on low. 60 is probably around the right thing. We're playing Chromatics Jesus over there. It's literally the song it's playing. How do I describe... Because... like, saying it's the best headphone amp doesn't fucking matter to people who don't understand what the last good headphone amp was, or the last good headphone amp, or the last good headphone amp, or how good the progression of shit has come. So, I guess the only way to describe the actual sound of this, because it's going to have a signature, and the Fidelis people, again, complained that it was like, oh, it's too soft. I never heard it that way. I heard it as like luxurious. That's the word I like to use. Like you get into the back of a Bentley Continental GT. I've never done that, but I can assume that if you get into the back of a Bentley Continental, actually Continental GT doesn't have a back seat, does it? If it does, it's probably real small. Anyway, you get into the back of a Maybach, and it's a big fucking heavy car, and you know it's not going to win a drag race against a Ferrari. But it doesn't matter because the cushions are this thick and made of some sort of special dead cow. And you just sit there and you know you're better than everyone else. When I listen to the Fidelis, which I want to get for review still, although they're out of stock, so God knows they don't need to sell anymore. But when I listen to the Fidelis, that's what it sounded like. Everything I plugged into it, I only had like 2 or 3 headphones and IMs I knew about, like I had with me that I could plug in. It just made everything sound opulent. It gave it the treatment of like, you know what? Everything you've been listening to is garbage. I'm going to lower my voice, and I'm just going to give you your music in this absolutely pure, like you close your eyes and you could see the girls are fanning you with the big leaves, and someone's rubbing your back, and you're not sure if it's a guy or a girl, but they have real strong hands, and it's like, I love everything about this. That's what the Fidelis did. This is just like that, only it feels like it has more power, and I don't think anyone's going to say anything negative about the actual shape of sound. It's not removing any highs. It's not like, oh, it's quelling the lows or the bass isn't strong enough. I want to say it's textbook, but I'm pretty sure the textbook hasn't been written yet. And if it has, only Topping has a copy of it. How's that? Because I literally look at my Singzer, and I know why I have this here. Excuse me, Z12s, by the way. Oh, new run of Z12s coming. I think I can announce that now. Hi-Fi Go is like, we sold out of all 500 of the Z12s. And now we're going to change the color if you'd like. And I'm like, yes, gold. Because that's the logo of my channel, has got a gold banner. So like gold and black, so there'll be new run of Z12. But I look at the Singzer, and I'm like, I know why I have that. I know why I had the A90. The A90 was super fucking linear. The old A90 was super linear. And it was linear without being like dry. Like the 789 was a dry amp. You plugged into it and it had nothing. But that's what you wanted. You wanted nothing. You wanted clean and pure. But like sterile pure, like in the vacuum of space pure. The A90 gave you a little bit of atmosphere with the purity. And then the Singzer came in and it like put its feet up on the table and drank a beer with you and you had a great time. That's Class A. And then you have the Burson, which I think did very similar things to that, but that was op-amp driven, and that sort of like gave you this flavor. And then I got the fucking IFI Zencan here, and I love that damn thing. You put on the X bass, you put on the space out, and it just does wild shit. And then I even got the SMSL HO200. And all of those amplifiers, all of them, the little bits of nuance and detail and things that I liked about them can be found in this one amplifier. They don't have a bass boost like the IFI, and it's not Class A like the Singzer, but the warmth and creaminess and clarity, it's this weird hodgepodge of like layering of like, hey, we're gonna put everything you liked on this sandwich. Now you've got this giant 7 fucking inch high sandwich, actually that's a 7-inch high sandwich, that does everything you've ever wanted. Every headphone that I normally say this one will sound better on that, and this one will sound better on that, and this one will sound better on, you know, a fucking speaker amp with terminals. All in one amplifier. That's it. It is a huge leap. This weekend, actually tomorrow, I'm going to go hang out with the Tacony guys because, you know, they send me lots of shit and I want to talk with them about their Tacony pads and their Tacony pads and their Tacony wires and maybe a Tacony collaboration. I'm going to bring this amplifier because I don't think they got it. And everything they're working on, I know they're working on a headphone. I'm like, no, you haven't heard it yet. Well, do you own this headphone? You've never heard it. But I've been using it for 6 months. You've never heard it before. Let me show you what it sounds like. That's the sort of shit this is. Although it's not shit. This is Topping. Don't get confused. This is the part of the video where I'm like, should I end it? Because I could just keep spouting bullshit. Because once you get to the actual, like, describing sound, everyone's got their own little quirks. You can pull out a dictionary of audiophile terms and just read through it and just checkbox, well, there's all the sibilance is clean and the nuance. And I believe this is the best sounding headphone amp that exists currently on Earth. Certainly for the price. Certainly. Without fucking a doubt for the price. This. That burst that I'm going to review costs 4 times as much. The goddamn thing costs 8 times as much. The Fidelis costs 8 times as much. So if we're talking about a price to performance, the king is here. Now the question is, will it benefit your particular headphone? Yes. I can tell you without a doubt, because I have every headphone. And I've had this on my desk for a while. I've been doing sound demos with it. And it's like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, preamping, before I forget, preamping this into this, you could just tell that you're just throwing it through a tube, and it's actually making the bass just less instead of more. Like it's so clean and linear and powerful that throwing it through another analog circuit just sort of like removes the low end a little bit, which I guess could be pleasurable. Pleasurable depends on the headphone and what you want to get out of it. Turn you back up. Yeah, no, it's like warm in my ears. I did all this thing to go through it. I just want to stop the video, but I have to. The reverent. Like, it's. Yeah, everything is staged perfectly. Everything is placed perfectly. It's so hard to do. It's so hard to describe. And I'm at the point of this video where we're like 45 minutes in. And it's like, well, but Zeos, sell me. If the whole of my waving of hands hasn't fucking sold you, then the only thing you could do is wait till a friend buys it and plug your headphones into it. Because I'm pretty sure if I plugged in to any of the like the Arctic Snow Edition gaming headsets have 3.5mm plugs. Because if you plugged in the shittiest headphone on earth into this, it would sound remarkably better. That's my theory. My theory is this could almost fix bad headphones just from how clean it is, just from what it can do. Because it's done it to headphones that are astonishing headphones already have been improved. So if you have a shit headphone, it's going to sound even better. All right, I'm gonna end this. I want to keep listening, and I'm going to. I'm going to, but not while filming it. So I'm going to put some Mac DeMarco on and my 909s. And just sit here in the knowledge that this is the best these have ever sounded, and this has ever sounded. So there you go. I already did my Patreon and subscribe stars rants. You don't even know about that. Hi-Fi Guides and the Hi-Fi Guides forum. Check those out. The forums could use a couple more people on it. Just checking it out. I have merch at zboombox.com. I am going to SoCal Can Jam, so I'll see you all there. I'm going to try to make better coverage than I did in Chicago. Chicago is like my dry run where I'm like, I don't want to be on camera. And then maybe I'll just fucking face reveal in Chicago, in SoCal. I feel like if you're going to do it in SoCal. I could use my internet fame to be like, hey, I'm an internet man. And they'll be like, oh, here's a free taco. I'm pretty sure that's how California works. Anyway, see you there. Wallpaper in the Horde. Everything else we know about. Thank you, fucking Apos. And more importantly, thank you, Topping, for making the D90 LE, which doesn't have MQA in it. And oh my God, Sherry at Gashelli Labs, keep doing this weird shit because I love it. It literally blends. Does it blend? Will it blend? It does. So links all around, and I'll see you all in another day or two, maybe, I don't know, 3, 4, whenever. I'll see you. I'm actually going to put those back on because those are the most impressive thing ever.